Welcome to wireless communication class. Today we'll see the topic concept of cellular communication. This is lecture number 3. Uh, so far we have covered the concept of cell reuse in cellular network. Based on that concept and the concept of cluster pattern, here we'll see today example 1 based on the same concept. So statement of example is, if a total 33 megahertz of bandwidth is allocated to particular FDD cellular telephone system, which uses two 25 kilohertz simplex channels to provide full duplex voice and control channel, compute the number of channels available per cell if a system uses 4 cell reuse, 7 cell reuse, and 12 cell reuse. If 1 megahertz of allocated spectrum is dedicated to control channels, determine equitable distribution of control channels and voice channels in each cell for each of the three systems. Three systems which are mentioned above: system A, system B, and system C. So let's have a look at the solution of this example. Very first thing, as we are aware of the FDD cellular telephone system, the given specification in the example are total bandwidth is mentioned as 33 megahertz. Then channel bandwidth for two simplex channel is given, which is 25 kilohertz. For FDD, we have to multiply it by 2. So the total channel bandwidth will become 50 kilohertz per duplex channel. So from this concept, we'll able to find out the total number of available channels. So we are aware of total bandwidth, which is 33 megahertz, divided by channel bandwidth of FDD, which is 50 kilohertz. So this division will give 660 channels, which you can call it as total available channel for the given specifications for cellular system designing. Now come back to the different systems which is mentioned here. Point A indicate 4 cell reuse pattern. So 4 cell reuse is nothing but cluster size capital N, that is equal to 4. So to calculate the number of channels available per cell for capital N, that is equal to 4, is equal to 660 by 4, and that is nothing but 165 channels. Similarly, for system B, capital N, that is equal to 7, and number of channel available per cell is 660 by 7, that is 95 channels. For system C, N is equal to 12. The total number of channels available per cell 660 by 12, that is equal to 55 channels. Here it is also mentioned that if 1 megahertz of allocated spectrum is dedicated to control channels, so we have to determine the equitable distribution of control channels and void channel for every system which is mentioned, system A, system B and system C. So basically in cellular communication system will come across channels are divided into two parts, void channels and control channels. When we communicate with the other users, then we are making use of voice channels, while control channels are used to provide other information of the networks. So all the channels, total channels are divided into voice channel and control channels. So here for 1 megahertz spectrum, there are basically 20 control channels you will be able to calculate by dividing 1 megahertz divided by 50 kilohertz. So that indicates 20 control channels. And these 20 control channels are out of total 660 channels available. So evenly distribute control and void channels. That means allocate same number of void channel in each cell wherever possible. Hence, 660 channels evenly distributed to each cell within the cluster. So that depends on the cluster size, whether cluster size will be 4, whether cluster size will be 7, or whether cluster size will be 12. Practically, 640 void channels, that means 660 minus 20 would be allocated, since the control channels are allocated separately as one per cell. So this is the basic requirement for allocation of control channel for every cell in a cluster size. So that means one control channel for one cell. Now to find out basically the distribution of voice and control channels for every systems for the given 1 megahertz. Let's have a look at system A. Here n is equal to 4. So we can have 20 by 4, that is 5 control channels. So 5 control channels can be equally divided in n is equal to 4 pattern. That means every cell in n will have 5 control channels, and 160 minus 5, that is 1, sorry, here it is 165 minus 5, that is 160 void channels per cell is basic requirement for system A. However, each cell only needs a single control channel. Now, why single control channels required? Because control channels have greater reuse distance than void channels. So, control channel is more important and it has a greater reuse distance than void channels. Thus, one control channel and 160 void channel would be assigned to each cell. For n is equal to 7, we can have 20 by 7, so which is approximately 3 control channels, and 95 minus 3, that means total 92 void channels per cell. Now here total number of channels or total number of cells are total n is equal to 7. So distribution of control channels and void channels among these cells will be given as very first case is 4 cells with 3 control channels and 92 void channels. In bracket it is mentioned like what is exactly requirement. So if there are 3 control channels and 4 cells are there, then total number of control channels will be 12, and for 92 voice channel, if there are 4 cells, then 4 cell into 92, that indicate 368 voice channels for 4 cells. Then for 2 cells with 3 control channels, 3 into 2, that is 6, and 90 voice channel, 90 into 2, that is 180. Similarly for 1 cell with 2 control channel, so 2 into 1, that is 2, and 92 voice channels as 1 into 92, that is 92, could be allocated, right? So if you uh, calculate the total size of control channels here, which is mentioned in the diagram in the bracket, like 12 plus 6 plus 2, that becomes 20 control channels. And then for voice channel, it is 368 plus 180 plus 92, that is 640 voice channels. But in practice, each cell would have one control channel. As we said, 4 cells would have 91 voice channels. So 91 into 4, that is 364. And 3 cells would have 92 voice channels. That means 92 into 3, that is 276. So if we combine together 364 plus 276, we'll be getting 640 channels. So this is the another division of voice channels, we can say, if we are considering 4 cells and 3 cells. In earlier case, we have considered 4 plus 2 plus 1. While in this case, in practice, we have considered 4 plus 3, that is equal to 7. So for system C, for n is equal to 12, we can have 20 by 12, that is approximately 2 control channels, and 55 minus 2, that is 53 voice channels per cell. So here division of 12 cells can be 8 cells with 2 control channels, that means 8 into 2, that is 16, and 53 voice channels, that means 53 into 8, that is 424 voice channels. And 4 cells with 1 control channel, that means 4 into 1, that is 4, and 54 voice channels, that means 54 into 4, that is equal to 216 voice channels. So if we combine together 16 plus 4, that becomes 20 control channels, and 424 plus 216, that will become 2640 control voice channels. In actual system, each cell would have one channel. So each cell would have 53 voice channels, and 4 cell would have 54 voice channels. On the similar fashion, student can solve the example number 2. So statement is, if a total 40 megahertz of bandwidth is allocated to a particular FDD cellular telephone system which uses 225 kilohertz simplex channel to provide full duplex voice and control channels, compute the number of channels available per cell if a system uses 4 cell reuse, 7 cell reuse, and 12 cell reuse. If 2 megahertz of allocated spectrum is dedicated to control channels, determine the equitable distributions of control channel and voice channels in each cell for every of 3 systems. So the concept that we have used in earlier example, if we solve on that same basis, we'll able to get the solution like this. So for n is equal to 3, total available number of channels per cell are 267. For n is equal to 4, number of channels available are 200. For n is equal to 12, total number of channels into 10 raised to 3, that is equal to 40 channels out of 800 total channels. So here, if we go for designing of system for n is equal to 3, the division will have to go like there will be approximately 13 control channels and 254 voice channels per cell. Then each cell only needs a single control channel. Thus one control channel and 254 voice channels would be assigned to each cell to satisfy the requirement. For n is equal to 4, 40 by 4, that is 10 control channels and 190 voice channels per cell. So that means 190 into 4, that is 760 voice channels for system C. Division is given for 8 cell with 4 control channel and 63 voice channels, 4 cell with 2 control channels and 64 voice channels. In actual system, each cell would have one channel. So 8 cell would have 63 voice channels and 4 cell would have 64 voice channels. So this fulfill the requirement of 760 voice channels. Let's look at the concept of microcells. In areas where the number of mobile users grows beyond expectations, overcrowded cells are split into smaller microcells to permit higher frequency reuse. These microcells may cover particular street or even particular building such as conference center in an urban area with higher density of mobile user. So this microcell concept basically you will find in urban areas where we can have a very small number of cell size. That means there are multiple number of base stations to fulfill the requirement of number of users those are demanding for the services. So in the diagram shown here, large cells are used for village areas and small cells are used for urban areas. So when we are dividing large cell into small cells, every time division will be performed with the radius of r by 2. So if large cell suppose is having radius of 20 kilometers, then dividing that large cells into small cells or micro cells, its radius is going to be reduced by half. So radius will be for 20 kilometers, it will be 10 kilometer for micro cells. For 40 kilometers, it will be 20 kilometer for micro cells. So again, if you want to divide the micro cells into subcells, small cells, that is possible by reducing the size of radius by half. So here we'll also come across the concept of picocells, femtocells. Particularly when we're talking about the microcells, it has a range of less than 2 kilometer wide. Standard base station may have ranges up to 35 kilometers. A picocell is 200 meters or less. Femtocell is on the order of 10 meters. So AT&T call its femtocell that has a range of 40 feet. That means 12 meters. So femtocell is the smallest cell in the cellular networks, which has very small range for communication. Then picocell is having bigger than femtocell, and microcell is bigger than picocells. On this slide, here you will see the comparison of microcell, metrocell, femtocell, picocells, and Wi-Fi. So in the table shown here, on the left side, you will find there is small cell type. This small cell type is compared in terms of cell radius, then power level, which is in watts. This is specifically transmitted power level, and number of users that small cell type will support. So first two are basically distributed antenna system, which is also called as DAS. There are two types of distributed antenna system. One is outdoor and another one is indoor. Basically, this distributed antenna system consists of a network of antennas that offer comprehensive wireless cellular service for an area, structure, or building, we can say. DAS technology was developed to address problem with mobile connectivity faced by many building owners. So this was the basic objectives of DAS when it was introduced. Active DAS consists of wide network of antennas that are connected to the base station using fiber, Ethernet, and coaxial cabling. These antennas collect the signals from the particular cell carrier networks, send it to the base station where the signals are enhanced and then redistributed through all rooms of the buildings using system of internal antennas. While outdoor DS is used for outdoor facilities such as university campuses, resorts, remote areas, urban clusters, tunnels, and so on. While indoor DS is more common and is used to enhance coverage for indoor facilities such as building, mall, stadium, public halls, and so on. So indoor DS is most common type of distributed antenna system and it is most widely used. So here if we compare the different parameters for outdoor DS system, cell radius will be 1 mile and transmitted power level is 20 watt and 3000 per sector is the capacity of outdoor DS system. While indoor DS system, which has cell radius up to 200 feet per antenna, transmitted power level is 2 watt and provide services to 2500 to 3000 per sector users. Microcell. Microcell, here basically cell radius is 1 mile and transmitted power level is 10 watts and provide services to 1800 per baseband unit. While microcell, which as we have seen earlier, is nothing but the small cells which support slightly large number of users compared to femtocells and picocells. Due to high transmission power, it can use for smart cities and smart metro applications requiring larger coverage. So metro cell basically consists of 500 to 1000 feet of cell radius and transmission power watt is 5 watt. Provide services to 200 users. Picocell 750 feet is the cell radius. 1 power watt is the transmission power and provide services to 32 users. While femtocell is 50 to 60 feet cell radius. Zero point 0.1 watt is the transmission power and it provides services to 4 to 6 users. While Wi-Fi 50 to 60 feet range and power level of zero point 0.1 watt and provide services up to 200 access point, it will provide uh, for this much of cell radius, which is 50 to 60 feet. So here, when we talk about the applications of femtocell and picocells, so femtocell applications, indoor applications are basically used for primary use, and there are outdoor applications also available for femtocells. Connectivity in terms of femtocells is nothing but wired connection as well as fiber connections. While installation point of view, femtocells are installed by users. So user can easily install these femtocells by going to the specific instructions of installation. Then if we compare in terms of cost of femtocell compared to other cells, femtocell cost is very cheap. If we talk about the picocells, small cell which has features and used for small enterprise applications to extend network coverage and data through output. So application wise, picocells having indoor use in offices, hospitals, schools, and shopping centers. While picocells use wired connections and fiber connection both, and installation of picocell can be performed only by the operators, not by the users. So cost of picocell is again cheap in cost compared to microcells. If we talk about the microcells, applications of microcells is for outdoor applications, and here wired connection, then fiber connections and microwave link connections. These three connections options are available for microcells, while microcell will be installed by the operators, not by the users, and it is quite expensive compared to picocell and femtocells. So this is about the comparison of different cell types in terms of cell radius, power level, transmitter power levels, and number of user capacity. Come to the point, which is basically umbrella cell. So what do you mean by umbrella cell? So capacity of cellular system can be increased using additional cell site, but it is practically difficult to get new physical site in urban areas. Thus, instead of new cell sites, additional channels and base station can be installed to increase the capacity. So, to increase the capacity of cellular system, instead of adding different cell sites, we can increase the number of channels and base stations. That will also increase the capacity of cellular system. Different antennas, heights, and different power levels can be used to provide small and large antennas, large cells located at single site. This technique is called as umbrella cell approach. This technique is shown on the left side of the figure. There you will be able to see the large umbrella cell for high-speed traffic and small macro cell for low-speed traffic. This approach is used to provide large area coverage to high-speed user while small area coverage to low-speed user. Ensure additional microcell channel pedestrian users. So very simple way you will able to differentiate the high-speed user and low-speed users. So high-speed user, basically, if you take the example, you can say the person who is moving on the vehicles, you can call it as a high-speed users, and the person who is moving or who is walking in the cell area, you can consider it as a low-speed user. Very simple way of differentiation of high-speed and low-speed users in the cellular system. The speed of each user is estimated by base station or MSC by evaluating how rapidly short-term average signal strength on radio voice channels changes over time or with sophisticated algorithms. So MSC stand for the switching center, as we have seen earlier, mobile switching center. So speed of the user can be evaluated by using this terminology, by using these parameters with the help of algorithms. If high-speed user in the large umbrella cell is approaching the base station and its velocity is rapidly decreasing, the base station may decide to hand the user into the co-located microcell without MSC permissions. So we have seen like this is the very important point that everyone has to note here. All kind of communication in cellular system will performed through mobile switching center, but there are few operations where MSC may not be involved, and here it is the one of the operations mentioned under the concept of umbrella cell when MSC permission is not required. So this approach is basically used to reduce number of handoff for high-speed users. So handoff operations will see uh, after this number of slides. We'll come across the different types of handoffs, why it is required, and how handoff operation is going to be performed. So this is for umbrella cell approach. Now let's have a look at channel assignment strategies. So to use efficiently a radio spectrum, frequency reuse methods are used for increasing the capacity and minimize the interference. So frequency reuse schemes are very important, and using frequency reuse concept will increase the capacity as well as will able to minimize the interference. So there are basically two types of channel assignment strategy. One is called as fixed channel assignment, and another channel assignment strategy is dynamic channel assignment. Fixed channel assignment. In fixed channel assignment, a cell is allocated a predefined set of void channels. So there are predefined set of void channels is allocated in fixed channel assignment strategies. Any new call attempt can only be served by unused channels. So what do you mean by used channel and unused channel? So if number of channels are allocated to particular sales based on the demand of the subscribers. The channels are used as well as unused. If demand is less, the more number of channels are available for communication. If demand is more, then very less number of channels are available for communication. So particularly when we talk about fixed channel assignment, any new call attempt can only be served through unused channels. So a used channel cannot be used there. So only unused channels are used. Then the call will be blocked if all the channel in that sales are occupied. Suppose if 20 channels are assigned to one sales and 20 subscriber, call is processed, and if 21 subscriber want to have service in fixed channel assignment strategy, then he will not able to get the service. His call is going to be blocked because no channel is available for service. So in that case, borrow channel concept is used from an adjacent cell called as borrowing strategy. So borrowing strategy supervised by mobile switching center. So borrowing strategy is only linked with the fixed channel assignment strategies, and it is required because all the channels are occupied and they are giving services to the subscriber. Those are demanding for the services. While in dynamic channel assignment, channels are not allocated to sell permanently. Allocated channel based on a request by base station from MSC. So MSC and base station communication is very important in dynamic channel assignment strategies. MSC allocate channel if it is not currently in use. In dynamic channel assignment strategy, this reduces the likelihood of blocking and increase the capacity. So this strategy, basically dynamic channel assignment strategy, increases the capacity and blocking probability that was happened in fixed channel assignment will not be here in dynamic channel assignment. It will be reduced greatly. MSC can use it for collecting real-time data, traffic distributions, and channel occupancy. It increases load on the MSC but provide advantage of increased channel utilization and reduced probability of block called. So particularly if you compare the MSC operation in fixed channel assignment and MSC operation in dynamic channel assignment, so MSC is very busy in dynamic channel assignment compared to fixed channel assignment. And additional advantage is that we are getting is nothing but subscriber are getting a continuous service without blocking of calls, and which is the biggest advantage of dynamic channel assignment. That's why dynamic channel assignment policies strategies are used in cellular network. Now let's have a look at interference and system capacity. So there are basically different sources of interference that will come across. Interference will be highly affect the performance of cellular system. So basic point here that we have to understand, whatever we are studying about the designing of cellular system, designer will always try to see that interference should be in a tolerable limit. It should be very less. That is what main object of designing the cellular systems. So to understand this, what are the different sources of interference that we should know? So very first source is another mobile in the same cell is also kind of one interference. A call in progress in the neighboring cell is also one kind of interference. While other base station operating in the same frequency band is also one of the interference. A non-cellular system leaks energy into the cellular frequency band is one of the interference of the cellular system. Interference on voice channels causes crosstalk. This many of us observed multiple times. Crosstalk happened. So that is also one kind of interference, signal interference. Then the missed and block calls in control channel result in interference. So sometimes miscalled and block called in control channels will also result in interference, increase in interference of the system. Interference is more in urban area due to greater RF noise floor, large number of BS and mobiles. So just compare in terms of size. So urban areas, cell size are very smaller, while village areas you will find cell size is bigger one. Their subscriber are very less compared to urban areas. So interference will be less in village areas compared to interference in the urban areas. Interference has been major bottleneck in increasing capacity. So this interference will also affect the capacity of the cellular system. So there are basically two major system generated cellular interference will come across. One is co-channel interference and another one is adjacent channel interference. So let's have a look at the difference between co-channel interference and adjacent channel interference. First of all, we'll see co-channel interference. This interference between the signals from co-channel cells. So we have seen in a frequency reuse concept, what do you mean by co-channel cells? So the interference between the signals from co-channel cells is called as co-channel interference. How to reduce this co-channel interference? Co-channel interference cells are physically separated by minimum distance to provide sufficient isolation. So this is the way like we'll able to reduce the co-channel interference. Then large co-channels reuse ratio improve the transmission quality because of smaller level of co-channel interference. So what do you mean by co-channel reuse ratio? We'll come across this particular point. Next slide. At this stage, just keep it in mind, large co-channel reuse ratio improve the transmission quality because of smaller level of co-channel interference. If we talk about the adjacent channel interference, interference from the signal that are adjacent in frequency to the required signal is called as adjacent channel interference. This adjacent channel interference reduces by properly filtering and channel assignment. Frequency reuse results in adjacent channel interference. When frequency reuse is high, there are more channels for interference because of separation. So these are the points to which we'll able to compare co-channel interference and adjacent channel interference. Now let's have a look at a few more points related to co-channel interference and system capacity. So as we know, frequency reuse there are several cells that use the same set of frequency called as co-channel cells, and interference due to this co-channel cells is called as co-channel interference. To reduce co-channel interference, co-channel cells must be separated by minimum distance to provide sufficient isolation due to propagation. This is what we have seen in previous slide in comparison point. When the size of cell is approximately the same, the base station transmit the same power. So co-channel interference is independent of transmitter power. This is the important point here that everyone should note. Co-channel interference is independent of transmitter power. Well, co-channel interference is function of two parameters. One is called as radius of cell, capital R, and distance to the center of nearest co-channel cell. This distance called as capital D. Increasing the ratio, that is Q is equal to D by R, the interference is reduced. So Q is called here co-channel reuse ratio. So Q is directly proportional to capital D and inversely proportional to capital R. So if distance is going to be increased, then Q interference will be reduced, since there is a large distance among the co-channel cells. So Q here is equal to D by R. Q is co-channel reuse ratio. Here we'll see the relationship between co-channel reuse ratio and the cluster size. So Q equal to D by R is also equal to under root of 3 into N. Capital N here is the cluster size. The small value of Q provides large capacity, right? Because in that case, value of N is going to be small, cluster size will be small. When cluster size is small, then capacity is going to increase. Large value of Q improves the transmission quality, smaller level of co-channel interference. While large size of Q will increase the transmission quality because and it reduces basically the interference just because of D is going to be very high. D is going to be high, that means the distance between two co-channel cells is very high and there is less chances of co-channel interference among them. A trade-off must be between these two objectives, right? So there should be a trade-off, because when we increase the Q, then naturally there is an increase in cluster size, but then increase in cluster size may reduce the capacity of network, right? While increase of Q will affect on the interference. So increase Q will reduces the interference. And if we reduce the Q, then capacity is going to be increased. So there should be a trade-off value, trade-off between these two parameters, and it has to be maintained so that service should be provided without interference and with a good quality. So table shown here basically mention the value of I, value of J, then cluster size N, and co-channel reuse ratio. So this for value of I and J, as you are aware of how to calculate the cluster size N, N is equal to I square plus I into J plus J square. So using this equation, we'll able to calculate the value of N, and by making use of co-channel reuse ratio, capital Q, that is equal to under root of 3n, we'll able to find out the value of Q if you are aware of value of capital N. Next, look at few more points related to signal to interference ratio. The signal to interference ratio for a mobile receiver can be expressed mathematically as S by I equal to S by summation I is equal to 1 to I0 I. So S here is the desired signal power, I is the interference power caused by ith interfering co-channel cell base station. So if you say there are 7-cell reuse pattern, in 7-cell reuse pattern, 6 cells are located around and there is a single cell which is located at the center of 6 cells on the circle. Then every co-channel will be located at particular distance called as capital D with the radius R, and the interference power caused by this ith interfering co-channel cell is called as capital I. The average received power at distance D from the transmitting antenna is approximated by the mathematical equation as PR equal to P0 in the bracket D by D0 raised to minus N. So PR here is received power, while P0 is the measured power from the reference point. Small d is the distance from the transmitting antenna, and D0 is basically a distance of transmitting antenna from the reference point having power P0. So D0 is basically a close in reference point distance from the transmitting antenna. Here small n is the path loss exponent and its value ranges between 2 and 4. Usually for calculations, we are considering the value of n, that is to be 4. In terms of dBm, this received power can be measured by making use of this mathematical expression. So PR in dBm is equal to P0 in dBm minus 10 into n into log of d by d0. This is the mathematical equation to calculate the received power in terms of dBm. If we want to convert this received power in dBm into the power in watt, then we can convert it by making use of the expression given below of this slide. So that is PW, that is equal to 1 into watt multiply by 10 in the bracket 43 dBm divided by 10 bracket complete divide by 1000, that will gives you 19.9526 watt. So this is the dBm conversion of 43 dBm in terms of 19.9 watt. Let's have a look at S by I ratio consideration. When the transmitter power of each base station is equal, signal to interference ratio for mobile can be approximated by making use of this expression. So S by I is equal to R raised to minus N divided by summation I is equal to 1 to I0 di raised to minus N. So this is the approximate calculation of signal to interference ratio for mobile. Consider only first layer of interfering cell. So let's here we will come across the different layers of interfering cell. I mean to say, on the right side of the slide, you will find uh, one capital A cell is mentioned at the center, and there are different co-channel cells located uh, around the center cell A. So total 6 cells are there. So this is basically a first tier or first layer of the cells. So now if you able to find out co-channel cells of the cells located around the central cell, then that will become the second layer of interfering cell. So similarly, there are multiple number of layers when we are calculating the number of co-channel cells, and that depends on the region of coverage. That means area of the coverage. So for particularly for first layer of interfering cell, we can able to find out the S by I ratio by making use of this mathematical expression, which is d by r raised to n divided by I0, and that is equal to under root of 3n raised to n divided by I0. Here I0 is nothing but the number of co-channel cells around the center cell, and here it is nothing but 6 cells are there. So I0 will be 6. To understand this concept, let's have a look at one example given on the downside of the slide. So there is a AMS system requires that S by I be greater than 18 dB. Subjective tests indicate that sufficient voice quality is provided when S by I is greater than or equal to 18 dB. So N should be at least 6.49 for N is equal to 4, and minimum cluster size is 7. So how you calculate basically the minimum cluster size from for the given value of S by I, which is mentioned in terms of 18 decibel. So we can make use of above a mathematical expression to solve this problem. So here it is mentioned like minimum cluster size required is 7. But then how you will calculate the minimum cluster size requirement is 7. You are provided with the S by I ratio, which is 18 dB. You are aware of I0 is 6, since 6 co-channel cells are located. So from these parameters, you will able to find out the value of capital N. So first of all, we have to convert this 18 dB value into normal value of S by I. So that you can convert decibel to normal value by making use of 10 log 10. So I mean to say 18 dB, that is equal to 10 log of 10. That means how you convert 18 dB into normal value. So that will becomes 18 divided by 10, and 10 raised to 18 divided by 10 is nothing but 1.8. So 10 raised to 1.8 is nothing but the normal value of S by I. So once you get the normal value of S by I, which is I think 63.49 something for 18 dB, put the value of 63.49 here in this expression. I0 is 6. Then in that case, value of capital N will comes out to be 6.49. Since 6.49 is value is not complete value. So we can take round up value as 7, and that indicates the required size of cluster for maintaining the S by I ratio greater than 18 dB in ARM system. Now you will come across worst case situation for S by I ratio. So first of all, let us see what is this worst case situation. Worst case situation in the sense, if mobile unit is located basically on the boundary of cell, then calculating the distance from that mobile unit to the co-channel cells is basically called as, and a calculation related to S by I ratio for this such kind of situation is called as worst case situation. So for hexagonal geometry with 7-cell reuse cluster pattern with the mobile unit being at the cell boundary, the signal to interference ratio for worst case situation is approximated by making use of the expression given here. S by I is equal to R raised to minus 4 divided by 2 in the bracket D minus R raised to minus 4 plus 2 in the bracket D plus R raised to minus 4 plus 2 into D raised to minus 4. How this denominator values coming here? Why we are taken this like this? Because this is the approximation values. This is defined mathematically, like if you are considering a cell with co-channel cells, then two co-channel cells are located at the distance of capital D, while two co-channel cells are located at the distance of D minus R, and two co-channel cells are located at the distance of D plus R. This is the standard consideration. So we have to keep it in mind, this consideration for calculations of S by I ratio value. So here, the example given was asked in previous exam many times. It's a very important example. Please note this example. The statement of example is, consider a cellular system with S by I ratio of 18 dB. The frequency reuse factor is 7. Calculate the worst case for signal to co-channel interference ratio. Is frequency reuse factor 7 still be acceptable? If not, what is it? Assume path loss exponent as 4 in mobile radio environment. So here we have to first of all verify whether frequency reuse factor 7 is acceptable or not. And if it is acceptable, then we have to find out what should be the S by I for worst case situation. So let us look at the solution of this problem. So as we have seen in earlier example, where n is equal to 7 is required to meet S by I requirement of 18 dB. So here path loss exponent is considered as n is equal to 4. Putting all these values in was approximation of worst case situation, that is S by I, that is equal to the given expression. In the first step, we are dividing numerator and denominator by R. After dividing by R, D by R, we have to replace as co-channel reuse ratio, which is capital Q. Then we'll be getting the expression which is mentioned in the second step, S by I, that is equal to 1 by 2 in the bracket Q minus 1 raised to minus 4 plus 2 in the bracket Q plus 1 raised to minus 4 plus 2 Q raised to minus 4. And first of all, calculate the value of Q. As we have seen, n is equal to 7. So from n is equal to 7, we'll able to calculate the value of Q, which is comes out to be 4.6. After putting the value of 4.6 in the above expression, we'll get S by I equal to 54.36. This value we have to convert in terms of decibel. So 10 log of 54.36, which comes out to be 17.35 dB. So this is the S by I ratio, which is 17.35 dB. So that's for 7-cell cluster, the S by I ratio is slightly less than 18 dB for worst case situation, right? So if it will be 18 dB for without worst case situation, then for worst case situation, it will be 17.35 dB. So it will be slightly less than 18 dB. That's all for this lecture.